What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show. Fans, welcome. Doesn't look like the camera's showing up. Okay, it is. What's going on, everyone? Okay, welcome back to the. I'm gonna make sure that camera was rolling. Didn't look like it was rolling for a minute, but how's everyone doing? We're here for an interesting live stream. Going to be reacting live to the Chris Ballard situation. The Chris Ballard press conference is post regular season press conference. I mean, you do have the Broncos and Bills playing right now. We'll talk about that a little bit while we're waiting for some people to get in here. The Broncos and the Bills. What's up, the culture? How's it going, man? Gonna get ready. Gonna be reacting to Chris Ballard's press conference here in a couple minutes. Going to finish touching up this live stream, finish touching it up a little bit, get a couple of stuff going on, a couple of things going on here. So yeah, just give me a few moments. Wait for some people to get in here, and then we'll be going full throttle with this. How's your day, culture? I appreciate you tuning in. 3 people in here so far. How's everyone doing? How's everyone's day going? It's about to get a little more interesting considering we're going to react to Chris Ballard's press conference live. It's going to be exciting. Going to go through and then we'll do a recap. After I'm going to pause it here and there as he's talking, and we'll just kind of do it like that. It's going to be very simple. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a damn good time. Looking forward to it. So, yeah, after, I finish polishing up this live, getting a couple of things going on it, and then we'll officially be going. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's weekend is going well so far. And this cold, depending on where you are, cold Saturday afternoon. Got some playoff football going on. Broncos actually had a good start. Big play from Bo Nix, but it didn't really end up blasting. The Bills are up 10-7 currently. The Bills will probably win that game, but hope the Bills beat the Broncos. I want the Bills versus Lions Super Bowl. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think either team is going to make the Super Bowl, to be honest with you. I think the Super Bowl is probably going to be the Packers or Eagles versus the Chiefs. I really think that the Chiefs are going to make the Super Bowl again. There's no reason why. There's no reason to think that they won't, man. I mean, they have a really good defense. They outmatched the Ravens. The Bills beat them early in the season. I think if there's a team that could beat them, it's the Bills. I don't think the Ravens will be able to beat them. I think it's going to be the Chiefs. Chiefs or Bills versus the Packers or Eagles. That's what I got, man. That's what I got for the Super Bowl. Either way, it'd be good. I mean, most likely the Eagles. Feels like the Eagles are a little more likely. Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl rematch. I can see that. Like I said, as soon as I finish polishing up this live, we will go live ASAP. Just want to polish it up a little bit. Get ready. What's up, Jeff? Here we go. Yeah, that's right. Just a short couple minutes here. 7 people in the building. How's everyone doing? Appreciate you guys stopping by. I might have to lower the quality here because for some reason my internet is not cooperating. I already have my bitrate is already lower in YouTube than it should be. But 7 people in the room, man. How's everyone doing? How's everyone's weekend going on this very, very cold Saturday afternoon? Watching the Bills and the Broncos game. It's a good game so far. I mean, Broncos got to that 7-0 lead. Beautiful play from Bo Nix to I don't remember who caught it, man, but it was a beautiful play. I mean, they just couldn't keep the momentum going. I mean, it is what it is. But let me almost done here, and then we will officially start. Sunday afternoon. I don't know. Thank you. I don't know why I keep thinking it's. I don't know why I'm thinking it's Saturday afternoon. Odd. Interesting. Yeah, that's what nice shit to do to you, man. It screws up all your days. But that's all right. That's all right. All right, couple hashtags. And then we will be rolling. Oh, I forgot I have to make a new channel description, man. A lot of things have changed since I made that channel description. It's been like 2-3 years since I made that. NFL, Colts, Indianapolis Colts, live NFL show. Oh, come on. NFL podcast, Colts podcast. That's it. Do podcasts and sports. What Chris Ballard? All right, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's too many. Just a little pointer. If you guys have any of your own podcasts going yourselves, do not create more than 8 tags, because if you create more than 8 tags, all of them, like, YouTube won't recognize any of them. I don't know why, but that's just something that I've come across. So, all right, let's save that. And hey, man, praying for an under. That's right. How you doing, Joe? How's everyone doing? 4 people in the building. We're getting ready to get going here. Audio should be good. I checked everything before we got going here. So, yeah, getting ready to go here. How's everyone doing? 4 people in the building. Guys, enjoy Colts football, NFL football. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Post notification bell on so you miss any future videos, live streams. I haven't went live in I haven't done a legitimate live stream in a long time. It's time. I miss it. So, all right, it's time to get going. I will stop here and there, and I will answer comments here and there. I'm not gonna stop it every time I see a comment. I'll never be able to get through it. So we're gonna start. And I'll stop every time, even though every time you hear something crazy or, whenever I'm given a reason to stop or I'm thinking about something I want to say, I'm going to stop it. So, you guys ready? Here we go.
Apologize for having to delay it. Appreciate everybody being here. Especially we get this done before hopefully the weather gets bad. All right, just to open it up, just disappointed, extremely disappointed.
How did every Colts fan say that this will start? How did every Colts fan say that this press conference would start? It would start with, I am extremely disappointed. This guy is so predictable. It's the same thing. We're only 17 seconds into it, and I already stopped it because this dude says the same thing every offseason. He says the same bullcrap. I'm only giving him another year. I have no choice but to keep an open mind. We have no choice. So, Chris, please prove me wrong. I know you're a great human being, but you have not proven that you could build a championship team. So please, you're an incredible human being. You got that southern drawl accent. You got the slick back hair. Come on, man. He looks miserable right here. He genuinely looks miserable. Tell me he doesn't. He does not look like he wants to be here.
Disappointed. I hear the criticism, and it's warranted. It is. And a lot of that falls, on my shoulders. Look, 4 years we've not gone to the playoffs. We've not won a division since I've been here. Not won a playoff game since 2018. I've got to own all that. I do. And I'm not going to run from it, but I've definitely got to own it. And because it's real. It is the truth. I'm disappointed.
Here I am stopping it again, but he says the same thing every offseason, and nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changes.
I think y'all know me well enough to know that I'm extremely hard on myself. I care deeply about this organization, this city, want to do well for them, want to make them proud. And there's definitely a sense of guilt for not getting it done at this time. And I'm very hard-headed, very stubborn. I am. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not.
He admits it right there. He admits everything that we say is wrong with Chris Ballard in terms of building an NFL team. He's stubborn. He's hard-headed. Is this someone that you want building a championship caliber football team? No. You can't be stubborn. You can't be hard-headed. You have to be able to go and make a quick decision, to go and fix something that you messed up, to admit that you screwed up. Now, he admitted that he screwed up, but his actions don't prove that. His actions never prove that.
Not, because I am. And having to really self-evaluate how we build the team and how we move forward is extremely important. You know, as I was all week, as I was sitting sick, feeling sorry for myself, but also self-reflecting on.
Does that sound like a leader? Feeling sorry for yourself? Does that sound like someone that you want building a championship caliber squad? Someone that's feeling sorry for themselves? No. Joe, Ballard, the guy who tried to hire McDaniels and thought Matt Pryor could be a starting left tackle, his talent evaluations are mediocre. To say the least. To say the least.
Stuff we'll talk about and things we need to do differently.
Progressive makes it easy to see if you can save money with a commercial auto.
I came to some real truths. I mean, you got to be honest. You got to be able to look the person, yourself in the mirror and tell yourself the truth on what's going on and how things are going. That's the only way you can really change and create real change.
But he just admitted himself. He's stubborn and he's hard-headed. He just admitted himself, and now he's saying that you need to be able to change. You need to be able to do these things to get better. Well, you just admitted you're stubborn, you're hard-headed, you're feeling sorry for yourself, and then, you know, the next couple sentences you're like, you know, we need to change. But we hear the same thing every offseason. Every offseason we hear the same. Every post-regular season press conference, we hear the same exact thing.
To our fans, I get it. I understand completely your frustration, and it's warranted. Look, it's a natural consequence when you don't win. It is. And we've got to be able to handle that. I've got to be able to handle that. But
is it natural to win 0 division titles, make 2 playoff appearances, and win 1 playoff game? But ultimately, to win 0 division titles in the division, where the division is so winnable. You don't have the Chiefs in your division. You don't have the Eagles in your division. You don't have the Chargers in your... Heck, if the Chargers were in the AFC South, they would have ran the... I mean, they just got smoked by the Texans the other day, but, I mean, the Chargers would have won the South with their record. I mean, the Bills aren't in our conference. You do have the Texans. I'll give the Texans some credit. They've been a good football team, but they ended the season off on a 3-4 game losing streak before they beat the Titans. So practically they lost on a very low note. The division has been winnable every single year Chris Ballard's been here. It's not like there's one team besides last year with Houston and maybe the 1 year with Tennessee. Every other year this division has been so winnable. And we haven't been able to do that. It's been the same thing every single year. We fall short in big games. We fall short in not just, big games versus good opponents, but big games towards the end of the year. The Giants game, you wouldn't even say it was a big game to keep our playoff hopes alive. But towards the end of the season, this team has no more faith Every single season. If you've noticed, as the season goes on, it seems like there's a culture problem. It seems like in the beginning of the year, everything seems all peachy and great. But as the season goes on, everyone gets more and more frustrated. And it starts to show. So, I mean...
Organizationally, we've got to be able to handle that. I'm still confident in my abilities. I'm still confident in people I have around me's abilities.
I'm sorry, Chris, but we're not at the moment. You're confident in your abilities, but you're contradicting yourself. You're saying you're stubborn and you're hard-headed. You have to change. And then you're saying that.
Just at this point, we have not gotten it done. I'm grateful. I'm humbled. But I'm very grateful for the opportunity that Mr. Irsay and the family has given me to continue to work here in Indy and get this right. Because I do want to get it right for the organization and for the city and for our fans. Saying all of that, floor is yours, and I will answer questions.
Chris, with whoever you got in place, you and State, whatever franchise, it always comes down to the quarterback. What, after 2 years, tells you that he's the guy?
Well, look, I don't think we can completely stamp it. We've seen some good things. I mean, we knew. Look, I like Anthony, and Anthony's done some really good things.
Can I ask you guys what, with all due respect to Anthony Richardson, what has he done good consistently? I mean, he's had a couple of big throws, but what has he actually done good as a franchise quarterback? I can't say a single thing. To be honest with you, I can't give you one single thing on Anthony Richardson showing some good things. Showing a good thing. To be honest with you, I can't. He tapped out in a game where he was tired on third down in the red zone. Say what you want about that. That is not okay. That is pathetic, and there is no excuse for that. Say what you want about it. I don't care, honestly. My take on it is I don't care how seriously you think I'm taking it. My take on it is it's pathetic. It's ridiculous. It's bullshit that he's making millions and millions of dollars. He's supposed to be leading a team. He's supposed to be leading a franchise. He's the face of a $1 billion operation, and you're the face of the city. It's a letdown to the city. It's a letdown to everyone else. It's a letdown to the entire sport. It's a stain on the entire sport, man. I mean, it was nasty work. It was disgusting. It was horrible. I'm excited to see what he says about that. That's gonna tell me everything I need to know from this press conference about Chris Ballard. Because you know what? Anthony Richardson, the moment he did that disrespected that not only himself, the coaches, Chris Ballard, Jim Irsay, and the entire sport. Okay? He's been inconsistent, below 50% completion percentage. Okay? He's awesome on the ground. He's very good on the ground, and he helps the run game. But where did that get us this season? Where did that get us? Not very far. So,
All right, but there's been some potholes too. I think the number one thing. Let me track back a little bit here. We knew when we took him it was going to be a roller coaster. I don't think I did a very good job. I think I explained that it's going to take some time, but look, I got excited too about the talent and the wow plays, but now we need the consistency down after down. But the number one thing we have to figure out, and what Anthony's got to work through, is staying healthy. Like you've got to stay. He's got to be able to stay healthy, and that to me is probably the biggest.
He still didn't bring up the point where he's got to, even Joe Flacco said it himself that Anthony Richardson has to stop looking at it as like a job. Remember when Anthony Richardson, after he was benched, everything changed. Like he started going to practice earlier. He was never late anymore. But why was he late before? Why was he put back in? I want to see if Chris Ballard's going to mention that. Or if someone has to ask him before he says anything about it.
Question right now, because now we're going on 2 seasons in a row, where he's dealt with injuries. So that's the first thing. And then number 2, being consistent. Getting a consistent, down after down, play after play, consistency with him. And that takes time. I think the one thing you can see with look, we have zero patience as a league with quarterbacks. I mean, you're seeing it throughout the league where guys fail one place and now all of a sudden they're doing really well somewhere else. Every quarterback's journey and developmental.
Now, I agree with that somewhat, okay? I agree with the point of the NFL is way too impatient and a lot of fans are way too impatient, and this may kind of seem hypocritical for me to say that, considering I want Anthony out the door now, considering he only played 16 games, if that. I don't even know if he played that many. I want him out the door because he hasn't shown enough improvement. He played 4 games. He showed us a little bit. He had a couple of flashes, but really wasn't too much. In this year, I mean, he got better, but is it better enough to say he made a legit improvement, that he made you legitimately think that he's the future? No. It was nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough.
Cycle is different.
So there's a difference, real quick. There's a difference between being impatient and just knowing he's not the guy. Bryce Young is completely different. Bryce Young was in a really crappy situation. Anthony Richardson isn't. We gave Anthony Richardson just about everything he could ever ask for. I don't want to hear the bull crap about the receivers dropping balls. I don't want to hear the bull crap about the offensive line playing horrible, because you know what? That offensive line was freaking amazing before all the injuries, and Anthony Richardson still wasn't playing good. And the receivers are pretty damn good. I don't want to hear no bullshit about the receivers. We have good receivers. Whether you think so or not, we have some incredible talent in that receiver room for the first time in a long time. So a lot of people are just going to point to the drops and say, hey, our receivers can't catch the football. Well, if Anthony Richardson could actually put the ball on the receiver and not have to make circus catches all the time, maybe they would catch the football a little better. Every quarterback deals with drop passes. Every quarterback deals with that. Not just Anthony Richardson. Now, some more than others, yes. But this is to the point where we're taking the blame off Anthony Richardson, okay? All right, let's get back to it.
And, I wish I had a magic wand that could wave it and get him to the top of the peak right away, but that's not realistic. The good news is, even with the back, which we think will be fine, he's going to go into the offseason healthy, all right?
Okay. He's going to go into the offseason healthy. After he was just having a hard time moving, he was crawling around his house with a back injury. He said he could barely walk. He was crawling around his house because the back spasms were that bad. So he's going into the offseason healthy, so he's fine now. So why didn't he play in the last 2 games?
Which last season he didn't. He was rehabbing a lot. So that's going to give him a chance to work on some things going forward.
He had a chance to work on these things when he was hurt that other season, when he was legitimately hurt. Okay? I'm not disputing the fact that he had some injuries, and I'm not trying to say that this game is so easy, but at the same time, I'm not disputing that he was hurt, okay? He was probably hurt. But at the same time, it's really hard to believe anybody in the front office or any of the coaches of what they say. Because everyone says so many different things. Anthony Richardson said something completely opposite of Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen said one thing one day, and then another thing the next day. You can't believe anything that these guys say. I don't know what to tell you. You can't.
Forward that we think will help going into next season. Now, saying all that, like, we can't beat our head against the wall. We've got to have competition at the position, just
Right.
for the fact that competition makes everybody better, and then two, he's not proving he can play 17 games.
I like that. Groundhog Day. What's up, man? Life is short. How you doing, man? Appreciate you stopping by. Groundhog Day. Is it Groundhog Day? I don't know anything about Groundhog Day. I don't know what it is. I know it's not today. Are you talking about the... Oh, it's not Groundhog Day yet. Dude, we got wild for that, I think.
We'll come back to quarterback, but talk about your outlook and your philosophy, which you talked about from day one. Did you go maybe too far in being too rigid with it?
Yeah, I did.
And so now what?
Good question. Here's where
I just mailed shit.
Come on, man.
hardest thing to do is evaluate your own team. I think this is across the board in the NFL. And look, I'm emotional, and I care about our players, and I think sometimes I've let that bleed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It is. It is. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The moment I started this, I didn't watch any of this before this live. I wanted it to be a legit reaction, like my first time seeing it. And it's on me. There are no excuses. It's on me. It's the same thing every year.
Lead into how I built the team. All right. And coming off a year last year when we were 9-8.
So he's letting emotions take control of him. He's letting emotions make decisions. Is this a guy that we want building a championship caliber football team? No.
I thought we were playing really good football at the end of the season. You know,
Yeah, this side of his
tough
beard
game
get
at the
white.
end of Houston. Could have gone either way. And I'm thinking, okay, we're trending up. And, you know, lost a tough game at the end of Houston. Could have gone either way. And I'm thinking, okay, we're trending up. And instead of really creating competition throughout and throwing new blood into the locker room, new players into the locker room, I said, you know what, we're going to run it back. That was a mistake. It was. I think Buckner said it. Buckner had some comments that I thought were just excellent, where about complacency, about ego, and he's right. Buck is right. Man enough to say it, one, which I love, and two, his assessment was right, and that falls on me. It does.
Is it a problem when your general manager? I mean, Buck is right about all that, but is it a problem that Chris didn't really think of this before? I'm sure he has, but I mean, isn't it supposed to be like the opposite way around? Like the GM has done a phenomenal job instead of your players criticizing the way you've done things. That just doesn't seem right to me. It just doesn't. And I see no confidence in Chris Ballard, man. I don't see much confidence. I honestly don't. I think it's gone. Jaden talks dynasty with Ballard. It's I'll believe exactly. That's something I want to say before I pause it, but I was looking for it again. But yeah, exactly. He could say all he wants. He talks and talks and talks. This is gonna change. That's gonna change. Yeah, Buck is right, and he wants to get new blood in the locker room. He says he's messed up, but Will it change? Talk is cheap, my friends. Talk is cheap.
I bet on that we could bring players back and they would be as upset about what happened at the end of the season last year that they'd want to rectify it. And at the end of the day, we were not able to. And I didn't do a good enough job creating enough competition throughout the roster and keep everybody on edge. Look, nothing.
This is what I don't understand. The general manager should be the leader. He should know what he wants to do. He should have a plan in place. The general manager should not be asking his players what they think he should do or how good of a job he's doing. I think that's where the players come from when they say there's no vision. Chris Ballard should know what he wants to build. He should know what he needs to do. He shouldn't have to ask the players. That's like your manager coming to you or a higher up coming to you saying, "Yeah, it's good to ask for advice, but they're paid to make those decisions, not you." Your job is to focus on football and do your absolute best and being the best that you can. It's not your job to build the football team. You know what I mean? It's not your job to make those decisions. That's Chris Ballard's job. Yeah, it's good to ask the players for opinions, but don't ask them how to do your job. That's why you were hired. You're hired to be a general manager, not whatever.
Nothing's better. Look, at the end of the day, what we do, like we do it in the public eye. There's a lot of money that people make in this profession, but Bill Parcells always talks about achievement. And at the end of the day, it's about competition and achievement. I mean, that's essentially what it boils down to. And I didn't create enough competition on the roster for it to want to achieve in the way it needed to achieve.
I'm sorry,
There's got to be some
no
stress.
shit.
There has to be. There has to be real stress within that locker room.
Doesn't he preach about the moment he got here? The number one thing that Chris Ballard talked about was competition and bringing in more competition and bringing in more guys, giving them a chance. And now he's saying that he has to do it more? Like, how are you going to come into a place and say, hey, competition is important? Remember when him and Frank Reich talked about competition, like, every single time and, like, how important it was? Okay, so why do you have to come back 8 years later after that, or 6, 7, or 8 years later, however long it's been, and be like, yeah, I need to provide more competition? How does like what? What are we doing? What are we doing?
And an uncomfortability that if I don't play well enough, my ass will not be on the field playing. That directly falls on.
Yeah, and if you don't build the team and, stick to what you're saying, if Chris Ballard would actually prove what he's saying, we probably wouldn't be in this position. We probably wouldn't be in this spot right now. But here we are.
On my shoulders. I mean, it's a lesson. It's a crappy lesson that I've learned. I do a pretty good job self-evaluating. Now, I'm hard-headed. And I will talk myself way back into, I was right. But no, this occurrence, I was wrong. I was wrong.
How are you good at self-evaluating? How? What? We're just going to keep.
Wise free agency draft, what needs to change, if any?
It makes no sense.
I think we need to continue. We've had moments where we've brought outside free agents in and done really good with it. We've got to be
37-year-old Justin Houston. No, he wasn't that old, but how old was Justin Houston when we brought him in? We brought Xavier Rhodes in. He was old. He was really good one year. Eric Ebron was a free agent, but he was good for 1 year. Andrew Luck made him. And I'd say Andrew Luck made Chris Ballard's career. I mean, take that year out without Andrew Luck. Whew. It would be that would be so bad. It'd be horrible. Now it is bizarre, a bizarre situation that he was put in, but
be better about making sure we identify the right free agents that can help push this team to where it needs to go. Right now, we're not close. I'm going to make this really clear. Like, I'm not going to, we are, like, close is losing on the last play of the Super Bowl. That's close. Going 8-9, that's not close. No.
letting Drew Luck and the Giants score 45 points isn't close. No. Chris is right about that. He's right about that.
I'm not saying we won't be closer when we get to the start of the season, but right now, sitting here today, we're an 8-9 football team. We got to own that, and we are not good enough. We're not. And we've got to be able to address and identify the right avenues to acquire the right players that can move the needle. And I have not done that in the last 4 years. I haven't.
No shit. No
If
shit,
you
Chris.
target whatever players, will the owner, has he always been willing still to give you the finances to get it done?
Yes. Mr. Irsay wants to win. He wants to win.
I'm saying that, will you commit today to signing multiple free agents who can bolster this team and play meaningful snaps?
It is January, what's today, the 11th? We have not formulated a plan. But what I'm going to tell you is we're going to be open to making sure we do what is best going forward to build a competitive roster.
Captain
I'm not
Obvious
going
is
to
right.
sit here and say, all right, you want to say, okay, let's go hog wild in free agency. All right, and then if I don't do it, well, you're doing the same thing. No, I'm not going to pigeonhole myself there.
I'm not asking about hog wild. I mean, you didn't add a single starter, so
That means the same thing's going to happen this year. The Colts are going to be quiet day one. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen day two. Don't get me wrong. You don't build championships through free agency, but when you have an opportunity to go and get a really damn good player, you go and do it. You don't go and wait until day 3, day 4, 2 weeks in and get your guy and get your budget guy. Budget Ballard. Yes. Budget Ballard. Perfect. That's his new nickname, Budget Ballard. I love it, Budget Ballard.
like that's kind of a baseline. Every team that's in the playoffs added at least one.
I screwed that up. You're right. I did.
Was the culture of the team compromised this season? You had a lot of guys being very public about their unhappiness with teammates and commitment and professionalism.
All right, so I know there's been a lot been said about accountability. Let me tell you this. Shane does and I do believe this. He does a good job holding guys accountable. He does. If a guy did something, it was late, look, he handled it internally.
This completely contradicts what Shane Steichen said. Shane Steichen said something along the lines of, "Oh, if players are going to be late. That's going to happen." And then Chris Ballard says this. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense anymore. Nothing makes sense.
Do I like all the things said in the media?
He's like a politician right now. He's jumping around this question very well.
And not held internally? No, I don't. And the team heard my thoughts on that. I brought those players in the building. Okay? That
shit.
directly falls on me.
Who else brought them in the
without
building?
question. And when you get, and the one thing I'll say is at least all but one put their name on it. Okay? The one that didn't put their name on it, that's even more damning on me because that chicken wasn't man enough to put his name on it. That is losing football. Distractions are losing football. Look, I heard everything that's been said, especially by ex-players. Look, you cannot fool players. You can't do it. That's what I don't agree with everything Pat said. I don't. But there's some truth to it. There is. You can't fool players. You can't do it. So I tell our team all the time, like, players in that locker room, they can BS the media, they can BS their family, but they cannot BS each other. And Pat was on good teams. Pat was a great player. Pat knows what it looks like. So he saw the cracks. And I guess the biggest issue, and our players know this because I've voiced it, how about solving the problem? Like, it's easy to voice the problem in public, but how about being part of solving the
Chris, maybe you should take your own advice here. Instead of just saying it in public, why don't you go do something? Why don't you go and back this talk up? If Chris Ballard took his own advice, man, he'd be the man. He'd be the fucking man. He would be the man. I'm sorry I'm cursing, but this is how real people talk in the real world, man. I'm not hiding anything. I'm speaking how I speak. That's life, you know. If you don't like cursing, I'm sorry. I curse. People curse. It's just part of my language. It happens. When you're emotional, when you're mad, that happens.
The problem.
That's what happens.
That's what we need. That's probably the biggest miscalculation I made is, you know, my vision since I've been here has been to take care of our own guys. I think you know that. I've been here has been to take care of our own guys. You know, my vision since I've been here has been to take care of our own guys. I think you know that. And I want guys to be Colts for their entire career. And I'll let sometimes, and look, I would tell you that all the guys we did, they played well and they deserved to get second contracts. But bringing them all back and expecting them to hold the line of accountability and standards, I either didn't make the message clear enough of what I expected from them, and that's where I have fell short. And that's where change is good. And bringing outside influence in that stands for the right stuff that we want to stand for needs to be done.
You said that you didn't believe in your plan, you can't listen to the outside world, and you're going to stick with it. But, and I asked you then, why should people believe that you're the right team to change this franchise or get in the right direction? After a failed season, why should people believe that you can change?
Well, right now, anything I say, I don't blame. Look, I'm a fan too now. I told.
Anything you say, we don't believe a damn thing that comes out of your mouth, Chris. No one does. No one does.
Matt this the other day. I said, look, I have baseball and basketball teams that I root for, and I'm on them hard all the time. So anything I sit up here and say right now, I don't blame them. Like, I don't blame them for being pissed and questioning. They should. They should question. It means they care, one, but that also means that they're not happy with our performance. But what I will tell them is that I'm very grateful that I'm given another opportunity to earn their trust back, because I need to do that. I need to earn their trust back.
So there's no culture problems, but he needs to earn their trust back.
Anything I say, until we win, until we really win, and I'm not talking about just getting to the playoffs, I mean really win, really create something that, I don't want to just win. I mean, I want to win big. I mean, until we do that, I get it, and I understand where the frustration comes from and why they would question, why they should question. But I'm still confident in my abilities. As hard-headed as I am, we're gonna, and I've looked deeply of things I need to change and do. And the proof comes with your actions over time. And that's what we're gonna do.
You earned another opportunity, or were you just given another opportunity?
That's a loaded one. That's okay. I'll answer it though, James.
With QuickBooks Solo.
The first, that's a loaded one. That's what we're going to do.
You earned another opportunity, or were you just given an opportunity?
That's a loaded one. That's okay. I'll answer it though, James. The first 3 or 4 years, we did some really good things. We did. So I think it's proven.
You had Andrew Luck.
I will tell you this. I think
You had a
we get 3 or 4 starters in a.
You had a generational talent. You should have done well. Ryan Grigson did well with Andrew Luck. Yeah, Ballard only had Luck for 1 year, but Grigson did well at Luck, man. Grigson did well at Luck.
A draft over time. And I think when you look at each draft, have we been perfect? No, but we've done pretty good work. Our process in the draft has been pretty good. Chap said it, the quarterback position has been the biggest albatross for us, getting that stability. But we've also done some good things in the past. So there's a partial earn there too. And like I said, I'm grateful that he's giving me another opportunity.
What were the conversations with Mr. Irsay? I mean, to the extent you can talk about it. I mean, he gave you another chance, but I'm sure he didn't just say that it came with no strings attached, right? What did he lay out for you?
Fix it. I mean, you know, Mr. Irsay, he wants to win. He does want to win. But he's also, you know, it's funny, you know, he's very knowledgeable about the game. So that's the one thing I really like about Jim is that, like, when on game day, like, you can't BS him what he's watching. He'll have direct questions about what's going on because he's watching the same game. That's the one thing about the world we live in today. Like, the world of football really is a lot flatter than it was 10, 15 years ago. One, because everybody's got the tape. You know, back in the day, the football person would be able to sit there and say, you don't know what you're looking at. You're not watching the tape. Well, now we can't say that. And let's don't. I mean, look, we're all watching the same tape. So he was direct. Look, Chris, y'all need to win. Y'all need to get this thing going back in the right direction.
Quarterback, you guys made it clear when you came in here you wanted to get reps. I guess what do you, in your estimation, changed this season to where he needed to sit down? And I guess why do you think you guys kind of learned that mid-season this year as opposed to when you got here?
Hindsight's always 20/20. I'd done somebody called me to talk about this, you know, earlier, and I visited with him. I thought he was good. You know, in a perfect world, a young quarterback would sit. Just in a perfect world. We weren't living in a perfect world. You'd have a vet quarterback who's winning, and you could sit a guy for 2 or 3 years and let him play. But that was not a luxury that we were afforded. And I even told Shane that I wish, you know, looking back, I wish we would have sat him no matter what. All right, but we didn't. We played him. He got hurt. That set back his development of, yes, did he get to watch football? Yes, but it's different when you're preparing for it, preparing to play. And then you go into this year, and there just got to a point where I thought he was, and Shane really was the first one. I saw it, but he was drowning. He was. There was the poise, because I think he plays with really good poise most of the time, but I didn't feel the same as we went along. And then the Houston game, I didn't feel the same poise that I was feeling. And that meant, in my mind, one, mentally, it was really going fast for him, and he needed to take a bit of a step back. Now, of course, in your worlds, that means his career's over. I mean, that's just, unfortunately, the world we live in. Anytime a guy has to take a step back, it means he is done. That's what you're right.
The way he stepped back was not okay. I don't care what Chris Ballard says. I don't care what Jim Irsay says. I don't care what Shane Steichen says. I don't care what anybody says. The way Anthony Richardson did it was not okay. It shouldn't have been done at all. You stand in there and you stand in the fire. You stand in the crosshairs. You go through that. You fight through the fire. I don't like how Chris Ballard is trying to defend him here.
Yeah, it's exactly. So, but that was not our mindset at any point. I think as y'all reached out to me, I told y'all that. But we knew he needed to take a step back. One, for just to get him to calm down a little bit. Two, also to prepare. Okay,
So the leader of your football team, you had to bench him for 2 games to calm down. Does this sound like a franchise quarterback to you? No, it does not. Remember the NFL is easier than college, quote? Do you remember that? Remember Anthony Richardson went on a podcast and he said that? Yeah, Anthony Richardson said that. But now...
all the little things you need to do in the building, everything you need to do, let's take a reset and let's take a step back, okay? And it was...
over the shoulder trick.
I'll tell you, you know what? Am I going to sit here and say that I wish it would have lasted long? Yeah, there was a part of me that wished it would have lasted longer. But Joe had some, and Joe came in, he had some struggles. We actually had a team, we had a meeting with leadership, which Anthony's in. We had about an hour and a half meeting where it was probably one of the better ones I've been a part of, where there's some real honest conversations about, you know, where we were and what we needed to do and about Anthony. And players, let it be known, like here are the expectations of what we expect from you. And what we need to get done. And so when we decided to move back to him, I thought we saw some really cool things. We did. And I was really exceptional things, you know, from the Jet game, who are a good defensive football team, taking us down and...
Really? Really? Let's take a look at the Jets defense. Live. Okay. Let's look at it live. Alright. Defense passing. Okay, the Jets passing defense was actually better. It was actually pretty good. Rushing. About middle of the pack. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Interesting. They did allow really low completion percentage though. They were good at that. Yards. Okay. They're pretty good against the passing yards, okay. I don't think he passed the ball well in that game though. Anyways, I think that was a crazy running game. But I'll take a look. I could be wrong. And it looks like I was proven wrong right here. That's okay. I'll take that. I'll take the L. Jets. Okay, no. 20 and 30. 272 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Throwing. Didn't really run the ball well that game either, so... Okay. That was just one good game he came back from, but... I mean, we didn't see that enough. We didn't see it enough. So... Alright, I stand corrected. I was wrong in that moment. But that was AR's best game. But... there's no consistency. You know what I mean?
And I didn't think he played
And I'll
bad
stick
versus
with that.
Detroit. I thought he played pretty good versus Detroit. We had, 100 yards of offense taken back because of penalties. Played really well in the fourth quarter versus New England. Had some struggles early, but in the fourth quarter was able to put a 19-play drive together with 3 or 4 fourth down conversions and a 2-point to win it. So we saw some really, really good things over that stretch of time. So that was the reason why. I mean, that's a long answer, but that's why. I thought he needed to take a step back and breathe a little bit. I mean, he's still a 22-year-old young quarterback.
Shane mentioned that when it came to Anthony, it was more so like preparation thing versus his play, so why he had to go to the bench or reset. He's a two-time captain. So why did he even get to the point where you had to bench him to hold him accountable to do these things that he probably should have been doing in the first place?
Great question.
Do you have kids, James?
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. Well, sometimes with your kids, and look, he's a young man. You expect them to do things and they don't do them. Like, hey, clean your room. Okay? They don't do it. Well, and you're right, he was voted by his team a captain. And not doing the things consistently that needed to be done, that is correct. And it was a part of the learning, okay?
Are we comparing a quarterback making millions of dollars, leader of the franchise, leader of the team, face of the city for football? We're comparing him to a kid that doesn't clean their room? To a 10-year-old kid that doesn't clean their room? That's what we're comparing him to?
It's part of the growth and learning. Do you wish they all came in there and were perfect pros from the get-go? Absolutely you do. But that's not the case, you know. We got to help them grow. And there's going to be moments of failure. You know, failure, like I have really messed up in the past using that word so hard, because really, in reality, failure can be a good thing if you grow from it.
Okay, but you haven't grown from it. You haven't grown from it. Man, I so wish Chris Ballard would just take his own advice sometimes. I really do.
Really learn from it. If you really learn from the experience, struggle and failure are good. They're not bad things if you learn and grow from them.
Take your own advice, man. Please. Please take your own advice.
And that's what, you know, we'll continue to hope that he continues to learn from those mistakes.
Why do you think he wasn't as, I guess, receptive early on to that? Because making it clear, to bench a player, you know, top 5 pick or whatever, it's a very public thing to do to get his attention or everyone's attention. Why do you think it had to get to that point? Were there not any other intervenes or whatever before that to try to get him to understand what's at stake, his role, things like that?
No, he had good moments. It wasn't like it was just this constant, we're at the bottom of and he's making all these mistakes all the way. No, he had really good moments, and then he kind of took a step back. That happens. It does. It's life. People make mistakes. You wrote things that have not been perfect. You won't admit it, but you've done it. And to live in a world that you can't, all of a sudden you get branded because you make a mistake, and you do it on the grand stage, and we ostracize them for it.
Auto insurance all seems.
When you say bring in competition, does that mean somebody younger who could be the starter going forward? Because obviously you bring in Joe, his future is limited by age.
We'll bring who we think is, you know, the best guy we can bring in. I'll say this about Joe Flacco. Joe can still play. I think you saw that. He had for a guy that's turning 40, still moves better than I anticipated, still can throw the freaking football and still can win games. In terms of the age and where it comes from, I'm not ready to stamp that right now. But look, we did it the year before with Gardner. We brought a guy in that played pretty good football for us. I thought Joe had his moments of playing really good football for us. I thought at the end he thought he played really good. So I'm not ready to target, where it'll come from or who it'll be or what age they'll be. I don't know that yet.
There's a couple things on the roster. Pitt said he was going to have an MRI. Will he need surgery, back surgery?
No, he will not need surgery. He will not need surgery. He's one tough dude, though. Needs surgery.
Pitt said he was going to have an MRI. Will he need surgery, back surgery?
No, he will not need surgery.
Once again, I don't believe anything that these guys say about injuries. Like I said, Shane Steichen says one thing one day, and then he said a completely different thing the next day. And Chris Ballard said a couple of things that contradicted what Shane Steichen said. The other guy. Ballard's the NFL's version of Kathleen Kennedy. Everything he touches turns to shit, but keeps his job and gets promoted. Unfortunately, you're right, man. Unfortunately, this is the leader of a football team. This is the guy that we expect to create a championship caliber football team. It's just not going to happen. It's not.
He will not need surgery. He's one tough dude, though. Pitt's the example of what you want. I mean, here's a guy that all season had to battle through this, but sacrificed for the betterment of the team. And to win, you've got to sacrifice. I think that's what Buck was getting to. And he makes that point to where you've got to be willing to sacrifice something. You do. And it might be statistically, you might not catch as many balls to win, okay? We might not have something statistically might have to go down a little bit for us to win. We have to figure out what it is, but you've got to be able to sacrifice. And Pitt did. Pitt made a great sacrifice for the team this year, continued to fight and play through an injury.
One more, and then I'll shut up.
You know what? Before we continue, that's one thing I do have to retract myself. I agree with Chris Ballard there. At one point, I was saying get Michael Pittman Jr. out, but he did bring up a good point there. I mean, he fought through that back injury all season long, and he's going for an MRI, so obviously it's still bothering him. The fact that he sacrificed some play with the back that was bothering him all season long, I'll give Pittman the benefit of the doubt this last season. I will. So I apologize, Pittman. I was wrong there, and I've been wrong a couple of times in the stream with some things. Oh no, I'm starting to sound like Chris Ballard, man. But I was wrong about a couple things. So I'll take that. So I appreciate you, Pittman. Sorry for what I said, but it is what it is.
What are you at liberty to say about Braden? I mean, it's sort of going forward.
That's a personal. I care deeply about Braden Smith. He's been a really good player for us, but he's going through a personal situation, and I don't want to get in depth with that one.
Last year, defensively up here, you took the blame for it.
Yeah.
Gus is gone. You're still here.
Yeah. Look, that falls on all of us, and no doubt. Look, I bet on some young players coming through. Juju gets hurt. Dallas was coming off his injury, and at the end of the day,
I think he bets on young players coming in just a little bit too much. It's good to have young players out there. It's good to take a chance. Once in a while, it's okay. But when your entire secondary has basically no experience, majority of your secondary has little to no experience. So some of them have a couple of years, but and half of them are practice squad guys you have in there now. I mean, that's not really wise in my opinion at all. That's not very. It just doesn't make sense to me, man.
Not give them enough. And we've got to, in totality, have to do better defensively. From a player acquisition standpoint and from a play standpoint.
Or system to change?
What's that?
You expect the scheme or the system to change? You've always been a fan of the, four-man front.
Be honest with you, like a lot of the league, because it's such a heavy nickel league, ends up being a four-man front. Now, you'll see some out of nickel getting into five-man stuff, but Shane and I are working through that. And look, I'm not going to comment on the coordinator of Shane's going to make the hire. Of course, I'll be involved, but we're working through that. We'll have some good candidates for the job. So,
Well, broadly, is there any?
I really want the Bengals guy. Bengals defensive coordinator. He's a good candidate. Their defense wasn't that good last year, but when he's had talent to work with, that Bengals defense has been had to be some of the best defenses that he's coached over there in Cincinnati. They were some of the best defenses in the NFL for a couple of years when he had something to work with. So I would absolutely love the Bengals defensive coordinator.
Is there any value to being more aggressive on defense? Because you have been one very specific style program.
I definitely think there is value. You got to be able to affect the quarterback. You do.
Are there other coaches who will not be back?
Right now, the rest of them are here, and we'll let the new D coordinator kind of shift through what he wants to do with the staff.
Your staff will be back?
As of right now, yep.
Are they all under contract?
Yes. I see you. Yes.
You see, okay. Two. If you're going to change the way you do things, talent acquisition is a team, right? As you and Mr. Irsay, what are y'all going to do differently to bring in different kinds of players?
Last year, we didn't completely abstain from free agency, and we've actually done things in the past. So I think we have to be more.
Here is the bullshit coming again. We've done things in the past in free agency. Okay, there were a couple times when Andrew Luck was there. You signed a couple guys to bolster the team and kind of propel the team. You sign a couple veterans. You sign a couple guys that can possibly make a big difference because you're ready to go and win with Andrew Luck. Other than that, I don't think he has actually made a big time signing. Samson Ebicom was good. But once again, we're going after budget guys. And, it's fine to some degree, but here comes the bullshit again.
We have to do a better job identifying the free agents that we want to sign and then being able to close the deal on them. And that's up to me. It really is. It's not Mr. Irsay. He'll let me do what I need to do. And my staff. We have to be able to do that.
And the other question is, you've always had a long-term outlook, draft and build and all this. Given that you're entering the year you're entering, how patient can you be? In other words, are you going to go for it this year in the draft and everywhere else because you might not have another year of this?
Mm-hmm. I will not be. It's not in my nature to. I'm not going to hamstring this organization for the next 3 or 4 years. No, we will do what we need to do to build the best team we can build that can get this thing going forward. And if we think it's a situation where, okay, this is worth it, we would do it. But it's one where I'm not going to be irresponsible. I wouldn't do that.
Are you surprised that you're getting the 9th year?
Honeybook completely changed how.
Well, if you sat in my box, I mean, shoot, even year one, I'm pretty hard on myself. Y'all know that. I mean, I don't hide from it. I mean, I'm very hard on myself. And it's, I'm not going to say I'm surprised. I'm going to say I'm very grateful. I'm humbled by it, and I'm very grateful. I'm not going to run. I don't run from the criticism. I know there's some comments because I was sick early this week, but I was going to show up. Always do. I was going to show up.
Chris, you'll do your deeper player evals, what didn't work with AD this year? It looked like something was missing. I mean, great talent. Reggie loves the kid.
Yeah.
What didn't work?
Just young. It's like part of what didn't work is Alec Pierce has become who we thought Alex Pierce could be. I mean, look, there's one football and there's, you got three wideouts that Pittman, Downs, and Pierce that are really good players. Man, I can't say enough about Alec Pierce. I've always.
Maybe that's where the competition.
Yeah, that's a great case. Look, I'll tell you a story. After the draft, anytime you draft a player at a position, there's some uneasiness, and Alec felt it. He came to my office. He said, "Chris, what does this mean for me?" I said, "Nothing. Compete." And it's exactly what he did. He didn't complain. He didn't make excuses. He competed, and he is freaking good. He's exactly who we thought he was going to be, and I think there's more in there. I do. Alec Pierce is an excellent football player. That is part of it with AD. Now, AD, he, like any young player, there's going to be a maturation process with him. And he has some definitely really strong moments, but we need more consistent moments from him. But they're going to have to compete to get on the field now. I don't see us playing a lot of four wideout stuff, so you're going to have to really earn your way on it with that group.
You mentioned consistency with Anthony, which is obviously the most important thing in itself. Can you improve accuracy to the degree that he needs to improve to be where he needs to?
Yes. Yeah. I think he has moments of like really good accuracy. I'm gonna tell you what my thoughts on, like, I think his mind gets going so, like, a lot of times with quarterbacks, when they're unsure, you can look at their feet and they get really poppy and and nervous and fidgety. Like with Anthony, I think what happens is it happens in his brain, and then all of a sudden when the ball comes out, it's coming out on fire because he's just unleashing it because he's thinking so much before the snap, during the snap, and that comes with time. I think he has some really good moments to where,
that just says to me that the game is way too fast for Anthony Richardson, and he just can't do it. That's just what that says to me, man. It just says that the game is way too fast for him. That's what I get from that.
At the end of the game versus New England, hard to argue against how the poise and calmness to throw those balls on very accurate throws. But look, you're in 2-minute offense. The offense is cut down. He knew exactly what he was doing, where he was going with the ball. And so you saw a calmness there in those moments. So it can get better. Yes, I do think it can get better.
So it seems like scripted plays are good for AR. And that makes sense. When he knows what's going to go on, he played his best ball. First quarter, played phenomenal. It's majority of your scripted plays. Really the end, the fourth quarter, or, towards the fourth quarter when your playbook shrinks, just like Chris said, it's a good point, but I think that once again says that the game is too fast for him once it comes to him having to really analyze what's out on the field in front of him.
You were big on the defensive line. Why did it fail to live up to expectations this year?
I thought they played pretty good. Did they have them?
You were big on the defensive line. Why did it fail to live up to expectations this year?
I thought they played pretty good. Did they have
Bullshit. Bull crap right there. The defensive line did not play very good. I'm just interested. I just want to see how many sacks that we got. $36. That doesn't seem very good. It seems very low, to be honest with you. It seems very low. Let me see if I can. NFL defensive sacks stats. NFL team sacks. Game. Scoring defense, is that where this should be? Look at sack percentage. The Colts are 24th in sack percentage. I know they did not have a lot of sacks. They could very well. Does that mean they're 24th in sacks they've gotten? So, and I don't feel like they got a lot of pressure this year. So I don't understand. It doesn't align for me. I'll have to find a couple of. Oh, let's see. Maybe it's right on. Maybe it's right here. Okay. The Colts had 36 sacks, which were down by Bengals, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, Titans, Panthers, Falcons, Patriots, Raiders. I mean, I know they got pressure sometimes, but it wasn't enough. So, yeah. Chris Ballard's kind of BSing this one. This one he is BSing. Red, what's up, man? How you doing? Appreciate you stopping by. How's it going, man? How's it going? Just going through Chris's press conference. It's the same thing it is every single year. So, let's keep going.
Have the amount of sacks? No. I know that's what.
Hope you're doing well, man. How's your day? How's your day going? How's your day going?
Everybody equates it to. I think our D line played pretty good. Now, look, there's times you can't get there when they're 6-7 man protecting, and then the ball's out fast. I mean, when the ball's coming out, sometimes that's how teams counteract you. I didn't think our D line played bad, but I thought they. And I think it's a good group. I do.
So, if they're playing well, what's got to be fixed so that they can get home, and so the run defense isn't what it was?
So, look, we did not tackle well this year. We didn't. I think we had the most missed tackles in the league. We've got to be a better tackling football team. We do. That's where a lot of the explosive came from when you look at it. A lot of missed tackles. We've got to be a better tackling football team.
How do you feel like issue?
What's that?
Is tackling a talent issue? I mean,
it can be.
They're grown men.
It can be. No, it can be, and it can be. Getting bodies to the ball, and it's a combination of things. Angles. It's a combination of things. We were not a very good tackling team.
So watching this and saying this general tone, you kind of falling on the sword that we've seen it, we've heard it before.
Yep.
Why will this be different?
At the best time. One of the best questions. I think the D-line was great at times. Yeah, it was pretty good at times. Bad at others. It was inconsistent. Very inconsistent.
What I would tell you, I told you I'm hard-headed and stubborn, and I think y'all know me well. Look, I don't sit and blame others. It's just not. Now internally we'll have some discussions, but I just don't think it's productive for me to sit up here and just freaking go scorched earth and act. Look, I'm the one in charge of football. I'm the one that deserves to be blamed. but also I've learned some very hard lessons with my stubbornness of trying. I had a vision of building something, and it needed to be a vision of building that could actually win and keep competition going in that locker room. And that is where I fell short. It is. I kick myself for taking a couple years to be so daggum stubborn. No, and when you look at, like,
he's saying it now. He's saying it now. But will he show it? Will he show it? Actions speak louder than words. And Chris Ballard has never shown us that he's going to change. He never has. He's as stubborn as Ryan Grigson was. Very much so. I hate to say it, but he is. Ryan Grigson was very stubborn. He was horrible, man. At least Ballard has somewhat of an eye for talent. Grigson had none. But Chris Ballard has contradicted himself so much in one press conference, in one video.
If you look back at our good seasons, like 20, I mean, we trade for Buckner. We add Phillip Rivers, 21. I mean, even, like, it sucked how 21 ended. 21, we were a good football team. Like, I know some of y'all would disagree. You don't go beat 4 or 5 playoff teams. We faltered at the end for some reasons. But we had made some moves then. We had signed Justin Hughes. Like, we had signed the right people, and then I just got, for whatever reason, in my thick head, you know what? We're gonna really double down on our own guys. And
because you didn't have success with free agents.
Double down on our own guys. Double down on our own guys. That's happened every single year. I don't think he has learned from it because he's done it every single year. How can you say that you've learned from it 8 years later? That doesn't make sense. That's on Ballard saying AR is getting competition. Good. He needs competition. He needs serious competition. And you know what? I hate to say it like this, but that's not going to take much. Serious competition is not much for Anthony Richardson. Just like Chris Ballard was saying, like, the game is too fast for him. Like, Chris Ballard said it himself. Chris Ballard said it himself. Like, you see a lot of quarterbacks are pitter-pattering their feet. You can see their nervousness in their feet. The game is moving too fast for them. And Anthony Richardson is just in his mind. And he's not understanding it. He can't read the defenses pre-snaps. He needs serious competition, man. We need someone who can play some decent football. If we get some kind of good competition for AR won't be starting next year. But if he does, we need someone that could at the very least hold it down if AR eventually gets benched for good and loses, the competition maybe a couple games into the season. But you know what they say, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have one. So I just think we need to go all in on a quarterback. I don't think we need to go and just say, hey, let's get a cheap guy. Let's trade for someone that might be on the market. Let's go for a guy in the 6th or 7th round or 5th to 7th round. No, I think you need to go for a guy in the 1st to 3rd round, 1st to 2nd round. You need to go make a big trade or sign someone big in free agency or something like that. Like, you need to bring in some more serious competition than just, I mean, there are, what do you call it when, there are exceptions, but you can't count on the exception. You can't count on Chris Ballard's guy. You can't.
Danico and Justin and guys like that. And so what dissuaded you from tapping into that?
Some miscalculation. It was.
What's your evaluation of the secondary?
We need to get better. We got to get better. Yeah.
Corner and safety?
Yeah, we got to get better.
When it comes to Shane, obviously, do you think he has to grow in the sense of just speaking for the team throughout the season? Obviously, the two big.
What if they got Fields? I don't think Richardson would beat Fields out. If Fields comes to Indianapolis, Richardson won't start another snap in Indianapolis. That's my take.
Things would be AR's benching in the back. He never explained really any of it until after, I guess, stuff kind of hit the fan later on.
Justin Fields would be a really good pickup. You know, I didn't like him in Chicago. He didn't look good in the beginning of the year in Pittsburgh. I don't know why Pittsburgh didn't keep starting him. I mean, I think Justin Fields would be a wonderful pickup. He is 100x better than Anthony Richardson. I don't think Richardson would have a chance to compete against Justin Fields. I mean, he's gonna get the chance, but I don't think he's really going to. He's not gonna beat Justin Fields out. No, just not gonna happen. Don't see it. So, can't. You know, Anthony Richardson will be in pretty big trouble if Anthony Richardson comes to Indianapolis. Or yeah, Anthony Richardson's gonna be in big trouble if Fields comes to Indianapolis. I don't know. I feel like I might have said Richardson again.
Yeah, Shane and I have had discussions about that, you know, in terms of just pure messaging. And look, it's always let's just, y'all are going to find out anyways. Let's just be honest. And he wants to protect the players, which I respect, and he should. But there's certain times where, you know, our messaging needs to be better. And, you know, part of my job is to help him do that.
Chris, in your exit interviews, however much you wanted, did you give Ryan Kelly any idea other than, well, let's take a couple weeks?
I actually it was about 3:30 when he came in my office, and it was hitting me, and I told him we'd visit later in the week. But what I will tell you about Ryan, he's been an excellent Colt. We've not gone into any depth about where we're going, where he's going. We've not had any talks on that.
With Zaire.
Ryan Kelly should be brought back. By the way Chris Ballard just answered that, I feel like he won't. But Ryan Kelly needs to come back to Indianapolis, and let me tell you why. Right now, if you look at the NFL, good quality, even just a okay center, they are hard to come by right now, man. They're not showing up. Center is tough right now. It is a very thin market. There's a high demand and a low supply of good centers. Ryan Kelly is a premier center. I get it. Ryan Kelly has injury issues. He's had an extensive injury history, but Ryan Kelly is a premier center in the NFL, and you need to keep Ryan Kelly. You cannot afford to lose Ryan Kelly. Anthony Richardson would stand absolutely zero chance if Ryan Kelly's gone. Bortolini play low. I get it. That was one, I get it, but I say you have to bring Ryan Kelly back. You can't. You have to bring Ryan Kelly back another year. He's a premier center, and there aren't many in the league. And you know what you're going to get out of Ryan Kelly next year. And if he gets hurt, put a little incentive in there. If he's healthy all the games, or if he's healthy 15, 16 games out of the season, okay, give him a little incentive. Give him a little boost of pay. Give him some incentives to stay healthy. I mean, you can't really control it, but sometimes it's just how it goes, But I don't want to see Ryan Kelly go yet. I want to see Ryan Kelly retire a Colt. It may not happen, looking like it's a little unlikely. I like Kelly. I don't want to see Ryan Kelly go. That will be a big loss for the Colts. A bigger loss than you would ever think. Really. If Ryan Kelly leaves, I think we're going to be hurting. Yeah, Bortolini played well. He's still young. So it was 1 year, yeah. And he looked pretty good. But he didn't look like no Ryan Kelly. Alright, so I hope we bring Ryan Kelly back. I think he's one of the players we need to bring back. That might not be happening, though, but we'll see. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a great football player. So, really don't want to see Ryan Kelly go. That would be a major blow to the locker room, to the offensive line, to the identity of this team if they have one. Which if they did, I'd say it's still running the football. But yeah, losing Ryan Kelly would be a major loss for the Colts. Should Smith get cut? I was thinking about him being a cut candidate this offseason. I was thinking about that, honestly. He may be a cut candidate. He hasn't been healthy often. He hasn't been playing good. He hasn't been playing very well. So, Smith's job is very well in question. Does he get cut? I don't know.
About the podcast, arguing with Pat McAfee, whatever. He's a team captain, 5-year captain. How have you expressed whatever he's done, or just relate a message to him about what you want your leader to do for your team?
Yeah, I'll keep my discussions with Zaire between us, but what I will tell you is you can't win with distractions. Can't win with them. Can't create distractions.
Chris, you guys had some issues with Anthony, whatever those were in season that led to the benching. How will you hold him accountable when he's away from here?
What's that? You got to be a little louder.
The benching in season when he's in your own building. How do you hold him accountable when he's not in your own building for the next X amount of months?
Yeah. There's, NFL rules. We can't actually hold his hand. And I we're at a point where we shouldn't, going forward, like we don't need to hold any hands. Like now it's time to, all right, you understand the standard. We've gone through the growing pains. You've made mistakes, okay? Now, much like myself, you got to learn from those mistakes and you got to grow from them. We know where he works. We know the people he works with, and we're in constant communication with him. But he's got to go to work, and I think he will.
That was a loaded answer. That right there tells me right there that Chris Ballard is not happy with the way Anthony Richardson conducts himself or shows up. That right there told me that in that response.
Culture is about winning. Obviously, culture is like a buzzword in sports, but when it comes to this team, what would you say is your culture, considering you haven't won to the degree you want to win so far?
Culture's a buzzword.
Culture's a buzzword because when you first got here, you preach culture. You preach competition, you preach culture, and you preach getting the right guys. You have not done that. You swayed away from bringing in more competition. You decided that your guys are enough. And, since the beginning, he said that that this team needs to have more competition, that he's going to bring in his competition to keep players on edge. He hasn't gone through with that the past 8 years. A couple years maybe he's done that, but he has not done that nearly enough, especially where we need it the most. Let's just be honest.
Today's compromises becomes tomorrow's standards. Okay? Today's compromises becomes tomorrow's standards. So anytime...
I haven't heard that one
before. This is across the board. This is what my vision for the players has always been. And look, we've had, being a good guy and having good people, that's not a good culture. That doesn't mean it's a good culture. Doesn't mean it's a bad one, but doesn't mean it's a good one. A good culture has some friction in it because there's some accountability within that challenges each other and never walks by a mistake. And we've got to get there. And that was not done this year. That's probably my biggest disappointment. That's it. You just nailed it. Because that's my job, to bring players in that will do that.
Great.
That mentality. It doesn't mean you got to be an all the time, but when you know something's wrong, fix it. Fix it. Coaches can't be Like, you can't be there 24 hours a day in the locker room. Fix the problem. You understand. And look, anything you do can't get in the way of winning. Like, it can't. All the outside noise, we got enough things that try to tear you apart as a team. And this is across the world of sports. Things try to tear you apart. The outside world, they're trying to tear you apart. And
are they not winning by Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed having a podcast and talking smack in the podcast, and then Zaire Franklin doing what he did in the Pat McAfee suites and firing back at Pat, and yeah, Zaire said sorry and he has apologies, but none of this makes sense. None of it makes sense.
But anything that gets in the way of winning, it's all you got to ask yourself, is this going to help us win? If the answer is no, then fix it. Fix it, or don't do it.
Secondary to Joel about where you need to get better. Where else specifically do you guys need to improve?
I mean, as always, I do think at the end of the year, the offensive line ended up playing better. We had some young guys have to play, when losing Will Fries when we lost him, that was a big loss. We had to roll Tucker in there probably sooner than he was ready for. Having Matt have to play both left and right tackle, we need to make sure that we've got the right talent level. I'm pleased with how these young guys came along, but we got to make sure we have enough depth there, always on the front, and making sure that we have enough competition through every position to where if they're not playing well enough, no matter the stature or status, they go to the bench and somebody else goes in the game.
Tight ends just didn't. What happened there, you think?
Y'all asked me this question earlier, and look, we didn't get enough production from them. And I will say this: they did a very good job blocking in the run game. They're excellent blockers, but our inability to control the middle of the field, which we've got to be able to do, I've got to be able to give Shane and them, a guy that can really control the middle of the field that teams have to account for and defend. I just haven't been able to do that. That's not a slight against our guys. They're good football players, but really having a receiving target that the defense has to prepare for, you'd like to be able to find and get.
One last one for you. Why do you think the team hasn't been able to win some of these must-win games the last few years? I know players mentioned like the Vegas game, Jaguars game, this year obviously, Denver, the Giants game. Like, why that hasn't happened? It goes back to 20. So like I would tell you, like in 18, we go to Tennessee and win to get in and go win a playoff game. In 20,
we're once again talking when Andrew Luck played. We're once again talking when's the last time we made the playoffs, which was 2018. Chris Ballard, it's been a little while since that. You can't still hang on to that. You cannot possibly hang on to that still. You can't. You had Andrew Luck and no.
We beat Jacksonville to get in.
Okay, you beat Jacksonville, but that game, I remember that game was very close, and at one point we're thinking, okay, Jacksonville might actually ruin our chances. And this was the Phil Rivers year. This wasn't the Carson Wentz year.
And lose a tight game to Buffalo that still sticks with me. But 21, we got to win 1 or 2. We lose them. Okay, 22 is a disaster. 23, game could have gone either way. Didn't finish it. This year. Even this year, like Denver.
This guy drives me crazy, man. This guy drives me crazy.
That's the million. That's what we got to figure out. All right. That how do we finish these things out? Crunch time and big games, that's what, everything you do, Matt. Like, you don't lose a game at the end usually because of the of the moment. No, usually it's an add up, especially like the Giant. Like the Giant game was just a freaking disaster. I mean,
You think?
But in those big moments, everything comes to light. Everything comes to light. And we have not stood up and answered the bell in those moments right now. And ultimately, I got to figure out what we're doing wrong from a team building standpoint to get us over the hump. Having Andrew and Phillip, without question, helped in 18 and 20 get over the hump. But even if you look back in 20, it was Jonathan. I mean, like Taylor got hot at the end, and I think he rushed for 250 against Jacksonville in that last game, to get us over the hump that game. So there's ways to win. There's a ways to win, and we got to figure out why. And I know this toughness. When you have enough tough guys, they usually battle through and fight and get it done. And ultimately, I've got to fill a team with more of them.
You mentioned those hard truths when you were, I think, sick earlier in the week. What were those hard truths when you sat there and you self-reflected? What did you come up with?
I think I've explained it here pretty clearly in terms of the roster and bringing everybody back. How that was a mistake. That created a complacency within. That there was almost an that's what Buck was talking about. There was an entitlement that, you know what, I'm back. I deserve to be back, which, yes, you did. But there's also an expectation and a standard that you have to uphold. And, they get frustrated with me sometimes, but, for much that's given, more is expected. That's the truth. And when you're on your second, third contract, damn right, there's more expected of you to lead, to perform. All that is real. And ultimately, what I've done is created an atmosphere that wasn't competitive enough. Wasn't. Of course, the coaches, but look, at the end of the day, the locker room have to drive this thing, man. Their competitive will and spirit has to help drive this thing. We can push it along, damn right. Hold the standards and hold them accountable. But those are the things I came up with. Those are real.
Over the shoulder tricks.
Well, that was it.
Back, it provides clarity for you guys and early. What does that mean? You got Shane back as your coach.
No, it means a lot. You know what I mean? Obviously, things haven't gone the
we listened to Ballard. That's enough. Well, there you guys have it. I mean, it's the same thing every year. Same presser. Will anything actually change will anything actually be different for a change? Will anything actually change? Only time will tell, and we'll see. So that's gonna be it. Gonna head off of here. I'm tired. Been up all night. Been up most of the day now. So I'm pretty exhausted, but I appreciate you guys stopping by. It was good. It was a good live stream. Had a couple of people stop by. Thank you, Red. Thank you, everyone who stopped by. It was a good time. But we'll see. We'll see what's in the next couple of weeks or next couple of days. We'll see who the Colts hire for defensive coordinator. That will be soon. So that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where every fan is welcome. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, put that post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. And I'll catch you guys next time. It's JDW.